One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Is this thing on? Click, click, click. Pop, 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 pop. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was dusty, if there's some cobwebs. We haven't been on for a week or so, or 4 or 5 days, and everything just kind of just didn't work the way it was supposed to. But I'm live now. I think I see everybody's here, people coming back. I don't know what happened. I click the buttons like I do every single day, twice a day sometimes, and boom, nothing happened. So fingers crossed that we're here for the duration. I don't know how long of a show this will be today. I am tired. Grandkids and my daughter and her son-in-law just got on a plane heading back to North Carolina. We had an absolutely godsend of a great Christmas. I hope you guys all had a fantastic Christmas and had family here and enjoyed the season for what it's meant to be. I couldn't be happier. I was in bliss, just complete bliss. Sometimes I would be sitting around and I would just watch them play and swim in the pool and have fun, or be at the Dolphins game. We did so much in such a short period of time. Thank you guys for bearing with me and coming back today. I know there's a lot of news to cover. So we might be here for a while. We might be here for a short period of time. But I got a lot to go over you. I'm going to get into my part of the show. But first, I wanted to show you, and just right now, let me just tell you, if you are one of those anti-Israel people, if you hate Israel, you might want to come back here, let's say, maybe sometime around 7:45, and then we can get into some news. I'm going to show you the press conference between Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump that took place earlier, because I realized you guys were busy, probably getting ready, for other people to leave your home and everything like we were. I could not cover it live, but I said, this is such an important thing. I need to start tonight with it. So if you are one of those people, please don't get yourself banned. Don't get booted because you hate Israel. If you don't like Israel, we'll see you back here at 7:45. But for the rest of us, President Trump held a press conference today, and his press conference, obviously, I just mentioned, was with Bibi Netanyahu. And so I didn't tape all of the pleasantries and the arrivals and everything. I just jumped right to the press conference because, as you know, the press are often comedic relief. We can hear what they have to say. Oftentimes, they don't even talk about what's happening in the two guys talking. So let's, without further ado, we got about it's 26 minutes between President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. And let's watch it together. I might make some comments. You'll see comments on the screen as well. And check this out.
People could come in. Come on over, fellas. We had a big meeting with a lot of people, a lot of talent from Israel and from the U.S. And I think we came to a lot of conclusion and conclusions. And there's very little difference in what we're looking at and where we want to be, where we want to go. And so I just want to thank you for spending time. I know you're going to be over here for a couple of days, and maybe we'll be surprising us on New Year's Eve. That'll be fine.
Oh, thank you.
And it's wonderful seeing you and Sarah and your whole group. Very talented group. We've done very good work together, and it'll continue. So thank you very much, baby.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. I have to say that in addition to what I said, that we've never had a friend, even close, a friend, as President Trump in the White House. I think he's been extraordinary in his friendship and his support for Israel, his principled positions, his willingness to just cut through and get to the essence of things. And I don't say that as a compliment. I just mean it. People have heard me say that behind your back, Mr. President, many times. But I want to say something else. I think we have a partnership, if I can quote you, second to none. I think it's allowed us to do enormous things. You know, people said there was a different conception at one time, which means that America can advance its interest in the Middle East if it opens a lot of daylight between it and Israel. And President Trump has done the exact opposite. He's achieved remarkable things in the Middle East because we work together. We talk about our ideas. Sometimes we have different ideas, but we work it out. And most of the time we see eye to eye. But it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting. And may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're with you, and we'll continue to be with you, and a lot of good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way. And you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel, and it's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing And it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion, on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because pretty much we agree on most of the things, and you would know what most of those things are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
Is Israel withdrawing its forces?
Well, that's a separate subject. We'll talk about that.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, did you have a message for the Prime Minister about the West Bank? And are you at all concerned that settler violence, Israeli settler violence, could be undermining the peace plan?
Well, we have had a discussion, big discussion, for a long time on the West Bank. And I wouldn't say we agree on the West Bank 100%, but we will come to a conclusion on the West Bank.
If I could ask, what is the disagreement?
Well, I don't want to do that. It'll be announced at an appropriate time. But he will do the right thing. I know that. I know him very well. He will do the right thing. Yes?
There is a growing fear of a confrontation between Israel and Turkey. How are you going to ease this tension given the fact that President Erdogan calls Mr. Netanyahu Hitler and compares Israel to the Nazis?
Well, I know President Erdogan very well. And as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him. And they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen. Yes.
Mr. President, are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
Mr. President, after your last remarks regarding the pardon request of Prime Minister Netanyahu, Herzog office told us that you have not talked after the official request of Prime Minister Netanyahu pardon. Can you clarify to us, did you talk
Which
about
request
it?
are you talking about?
With the President Herzog, the Israeli President Herzog. Did you talk with him directly?
President Erdogan?
Herzog. The Israeli
So
President
you're talking
Herzog.
about pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you got to say that. No, I think he's going to be in great shape. He's a wartime prime minister at the highest level. He's achieved tremendous success. And I'll say it, if you had 8 out of 10 prime ministers in his position right now, or before right now, maybe, you wouldn't have Israel any longer. Israel would not exist. I'd say two of them would, and 8 of them wouldn't. Those are not good odds. You needed a very special man to really carry through and really help Israel through this horrible jam. You know, these are major factions, and it started with our negotiation with Iran. I think it probably started with Soleimani. That was really where you mentioned that today. It started with Soleimani. Bad guy, doing bad things, hurting a lot of people, killing American soldiers and other soldiers. But it started right there, would probably be the starting point. And then from that point forward, but you have a wartime prime minister at the highest level. There could be other wartime prime ministers, but they'd lose. He won. And I think the people of Israel appreciate it. I think a lot of the people in the world appreciate it, actually. And because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East. If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister. That's a big statement, but to me it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding. If they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And, you know, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now. And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word. But I believe you would not have Israel right now. So it's a big deal. Yeah, please.
President, a recent poll showed that as many as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans should be resettled.
I heard that number today, half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if they were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, they would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of Gaza a lot. So is Israel, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But I saw that it was a poll. It was actually more than half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity. And I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting.
Why wouldn't countries accept them?
Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now, we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that, the group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity. But they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, have you reached a point of understanding regarding Syria?
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, you know, your new president, I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. You know, he was fighting them. So I hope Israel, I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along. I think they will. Bibi, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists, we don't have attacks, and we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Jews, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa too. And we stand for the same thing.
And don't forget, it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with I mean, I know it. And President Erdogan should get a lot of good credit for what he did. He got rid of some very bad people. And, you know, they've been wanting to do that for 1,000 years with different names, but for 1,000 years in Syria. President Erdogan did it, and we give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. But I think it's going to work out well between Syria and Israel.
Mr. President, about Lebanon.
Go ahead, please.
The Lebanese government, so what we saw, is not meeting the terms of the ceasefire agreement, has failed to disarm Hezbollah, actually. In your view, should Israel strike the terrorist organization again?
Well, we're going to see about that. We'll see about it. The Lebanese government is at a little bit of a disadvantage, if you think of it, with Hezbollah. But Hezbollah has been behaving badly, so we'll see what happens.
How close are we to another operation of Israel in Iran? You said before the meeting with Netanyahu that you are in support of Israel if the ballistic missile project will take on and also the nuclear weapon. But after the meeting, after what you know from the intelligence, how close are we to another war with Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that, but Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed. But if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. You know, consequences will be very powerful, maybe more powerful than the last time. Yeah. And Iran should have made a deal the last time. I gave them the option. I said, you can make a deal. Do it. I told them, do it. And they didn't believe me. Now they believe me.
Do you have evidence that Iran is behaving badly? And what do you mean by that?
This is just what we hear. But usually, where there's smoke, there's fire. Have you heard the expression?
What do you mean related to the nuclear capability?
Well, no, I'm hearing that they're not nuclear yet, but maybe nuclear too. The sites were obliterated, but they're looking at other sites. That's what I've heard. They're looking. So it'll take a long time. They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake. Yeah, please. There's no reason for them to do it.
Mr. President, is the United States currently open to engaging in bilateral discussions with Tehran? We're hearing reports from numerous countries that there may be some discussions. Is that something you would support, or something that is
I would.
You
Sure.
would support that?
I would, yes.
Right now. Thank you, sir.
I have been, by the way, before the war, I would support that. I said to him, Bibi, I said, let's negotiate. And they didn't believe what was going to happen would happen. Yes, ma'am.
On China. So China has been doing naval exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China?
Well, I have a great relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it, and I don't believe he's going to be doing it. No, nothing worries me.
But
nothing.
You said where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if you're encircling, if you're doing naval exercises and air exercises.
Well, we've been doing naval exercises.
I just wanted to jump in there. I wanted you to hear that. If you guys were looking down or you were texting or you weren't paying attention, the reporter said, doesn't this worry you? And President Trump, without hesitation, says, nothing worries me. I want you to remember that as we go through the rest of the show, because there's all kinds of panicins on X to the point where sometimes X isn't able to be used anymore because there's so many doom-saying panicins. Oh my God, what's he doing? There's nothing going on. There's nobody being arrested. And he just looked at that reporter dead in the eye and went, nothing worries me. I voted for this guy. You guys voted for this guy. This guy they took shot at, maybe once or twice or three times. All kinds of people want him dead. Nothing worries me. If that wasn't a signal to people, I don't know what was. It didn't even hesitate. But remember that.
For 20 years in that area. Now people take it a little bit differently, but in fact, larger than they're doing right now. So we'll see. But they've been doing that for 20, 25 years, yeah.
Mr. President, if you don't see Hamas disarm in that short amount of time they're giving them, can you tell us what the next steps would be?
It'll be horrible for them. Horrible. It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I don't want that to happen. But they made an agreement that they were going to disarm. And you couldn't blame Israel. By the way, we have other countries that will come in and do it. They said, let us do it for you if they don't. Countries that were with them wanted the deal to be made, agreed that they would disarm, and now if they say they're going to disarm, that's fine. If they say they're not going to disarm, those same countries will go and wipe them out. They don't even need Israel. You know, we have many countries, 59 countries that are in agreement. This is a real peace in the Middle East. And Hamas is a small part of it, but it's still a part of it. But we have 59 countries that signed on, big countries, countries that are outside of the Middle East, as you know the Middle East. They want to go in and wipe out Hamas. They don't want Israel. They don't need Israel. They want to do it because it's the right thing to do, because they were for the deal based on the fact that Hamas pledged, they swore that they were going to disarm. Now, if they're not going to disarm, those same countries will wipe out Hamas. Yeah.
President Trump, do you think that the PA should be involved the day after in Gaza Strip, even in the near future? And the same question to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you see a real opportunity that the PA will be in Gaza?
Go ahead, Mimi.
I think President Trump put clearly the conditions of reform that he wants to see in the PA for them to be involved. And I think he put it very clearly what he wants to see, the kind of real reforms, not just perfunctory reforms, but real reforms. Stop pay to slay, change the curriculum in your textbooks, open up, a different society and a different future. If they do it, well, let them, I think it was clear. He put
pretty clear.
He put guidelines that were, by the way, in the Trump plan of 2020. And they were put then in the 20 points, and it's up to them.
Remember this, if we didn't do what we did to Iran, just to make the subject just slightly different, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal signed in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal. Because other Arab nations, which are great people, I know them very well, I know them, they're great people, they wouldn't be able to have agreed to peace in the Middle East because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over everything. It wouldn't have been possible. So Iran has been greatly reduced in power, prestige. I don't want to use the word humiliation because, they're trying to build up again. But we can't let them build up because if they build up, there can't be peace in the Middle East. It was a mistake. When they wiped out Iraq and Iran were about the same power. And they fought each other with different names for 1,000 years. And then our country came out and blew up one of those two countries, namely Iraq. And all of a sudden, Iran had the whole Middle East all to itself. But that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore.
Can you tell us something about your plan? Tell us something about your plan to expand Abraham Accords. If you can tell us something about your plan to expand Abraham Accords.
Well, the Abraham Accords are a great achievement of Jared and everybody. It was one of the great achievements. They'll be expanded. Countries are already talking about expanding it, and they'll be expanded fairly quickly. Yeah, please.
What about Saudi Arabia? Is it still on the table? The normalization.
Saudi Arabia is great. We have a great leader and a friend of mine and a friend of a lot of people. Also an enemy of some people, but those people aren't doing so well. Saudi Arabia has been very good as far as I'm concerned. They've done everything that we can ask for.
But normalization with Israel is on the table?
They're getting along great with Israel. They will. And at some point, they'll sign the Abraham Accords.
Mr. President, we know.
So one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah.
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're also doing interviews.
Still do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
But
in the meantime, we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25. Think of that. We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of construction. He's spending more money than any building has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now, it's bigger than I told you. After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all they call it drone-free roof.
What inauguration? I don't know if that was a Freudian slip, but we're going to do the inauguration in that building. What inauguration? As far as we know, President Trump is either not eligible for another term or he's deciding not to run. And he's thinking J.D. Vance would be the nominee, but we're talking 3 years out, and there's no certainty that we know of that there would be an inauguration in that building, because if the Democrats won, they probably wouldn't want to be in there. So, hey, boss, what inauguration are you talking about? Did y'all catch that? Is it just me, or is he talking about having an inauguration in his new ballroom? And you're all probably, if you're like me and you catch the words, you probably said to yourself, hey, boss, you ain't going to be here.
The drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building. But it's a big project. For a tiny fraction of that, we're under budget and ahead of schedule. And they've wanted it for 150 years. Think of it, the Federal Reserve building, 2 buildings there, they don't know what they're doing. They're way over budget. I mean, this was built during the Biden administration, and I rode by it the other day, and it's headed by the head of the Federal Reserve. Too late, too late, Powell. Too late, because he's always too late with interest rates, except before the election. He was too early, because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no. We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence, because think of it. These aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He's at $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats, highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price.
All right, time out again. Did you hear what he just said? We're thinking about bringing a lawsuit against Jerome Powell. So prudent person is, I'm going to sue you. I'm not going to tell the world I'm going to sue you unless I've already, filed some papers. Next thing is, with everything we've seen over the last week or so, which we're going to get into in depth, is this something else that he's realized, or they've dug in and found, there's a whole bunch of fraud here too? And he keeps talking about this billions of dollars that Jerome Powell has spent, and now he's going to sue him. I don't know in what capacity, as a president or the DOJ or whatever, but I think the main reason to sue is to get access to the books. and figure out what exactly you spent billions of dollars on renovating a building. You made a big mistake. This is a builder as a president. He understands what things are supposed to cost. Good luck, Jerome.
So we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell. And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. There's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent man. But we're going to probably bring a lawsuit against him. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Bibi, congratulations.
Mr. President, when do you expect an announcement then on Powell's replacement?
January sometime.
And will you ask Jay Powell to resign from
He
the
should
board
resign.
entirely?
It'll be a favor to the nation. But he's come close. I mean, we're getting pretty close. I would fire him. I'd love to fire him, but we're so close, you know, maybe maybe I still might.
Will you sell F-35 to the Turkey?
Say it?
Are you going to approve a selling of F-35 to the Turkey?
We're thinking about it very seriously.
And what is your reaction to this?
They'll never use it.
Okay. Thank you, Press.
I promise they'll never use it.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Press.
All right, so you heard him speak there. He's talking about doing a whole bunch of things. This press is completely oblivious. They're not journalists. I think Nick Shirley showed us earlier this week. They're not journalists. They probably have headsets on. They're getting texts and they're being told what to ask so that they can put it on television and go with it, because they have no idea what they're even asking and not even listening to what the man's saying. Because a follow-up question, if I was sitting there with my little pad up and, ooh, what inauguration? The Democrats aren't going to use this. They would never hold a Democrat inauguration for President Dumb Democrat in the Trump ballroom. It ain't going to happen. So what inauguration is he talking about? But that was that. I wanted to get that in so you guys would have heard it. And now we're going to move into, I'm not even going to run a commercial. I'm just going to run right into the part of the show that I think, you're going to get some, put it this way, if you don't get something from it, other than having to go do some homework, then I've succeeded. Because I want you to begin with everything you're seeing, and I know you're seeing a lot. If you sit back and go, wait a second, what the hell is going on here? And if you didn't follow what Harmeet Dillon said, I'm going to show you some of that stuff, and I want to put that in context. So before I begin, and I'm going to lay context to this right now, right off the bat. And I want to ask every single person watching live and every person who may be watching on replay when it's over. All right, you ready for your first quiz? Pop quiz? All right, kids. What is an insurrection? See, that's a mouthful. What the hell is an insurrection? A lot of people talking about insurrections now. Oh, it's on the news. People are talking about insurrection. What actually is the governmental definition of an insurrection? Don't worry, I'm going to show it to you. But I wanted you to think first so you have that basis point as we move forward, because it's not what you think it is. I played this last week. I want you to just listen to this.
Recently said, look, I'm trying to enforce the laws with ICE agents, with federal law enforcement, and I can't do it, so I need to call the National Guard. But the statute says the president has to be unable to enforce the law with regular forces. What does regular forces mean? We don't know. The Supreme Court has never decided that question before.
All right, so that's the first thing I want. As you're thinking of your definition of an insurrection, it was kind of a trick question. Nobody has really defined what an insurrection is. There's nothing you are going to turn to that is going to give you the actual definition of insurrection. Did you know that? As you're hearing people bandy about the term, and it's not an insurrection or it is an insurrection, what exactly is an insurrection? So you may be thinking about bombs and tanks and pipe bombs and guns and all kinds of different weaponry. that shows, quote, an insurrection. Well, what if you're wrong? Because next question I was asking, if that's what you think, that it needs bombs and guns and all these other things, why do you think that? Perhaps that's what you've been told to think? Subliminally programmed to think? What if you're living through one right now? Let's continue with this.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court now says regular forces means you have to try with the regular armed forces first before you can bring out the National Guard. So the unintended consequence here might be that the president is going to have to call the 82nd Airborne or the Marines or the 101st Airborne Division, as, for example, President Eisenhower did after Brown versus Board of Education in the South to enforce desegregation. President Trump might have to do that first in order to protect those federal buildings, those ICE agents, and then if they fail, he can then call out the National Guard.
Got it. I don't think anybody's thinking the military is going to fail. So the National Guard might not be needed, because if what the judges are saying is that before you can bring out the National Guard, you got to use the Army first. Okay, if you say so. The weekend warriors might stay weekend warriors. I'm going to bring out the 82nd Airborne, going to bring out the Marines. Say, hey, that's what you want. So after today's show, you're probably going to understand more about what the Insurrection Act is.
J.B. Pritzker, the governor in the state of Illinois, is saying this. Today is a big win for Illinois and American democracy. This is an important step in curbing the Trump administration's consistent abuse of power and slowing Trump's march toward authoritarianism. We f***ed up. That's purely political. I think the president has obviously tried to work within the framework of the law as his legal eagles have seen it. 15 seconds or so, what happens from here? And I guess I answered my own question when I say I'm not surprised by Pritzker's response, and I guess you aren't either.
I'm not. He's, of course, injecting a lot of heated political rhetoric into this. Yeah. But what's going to happen? Trump will, of course, now have the right to go to the Supreme Court on the full merits. As you said, Kevin, this is just preliminary. He may be able to get the full court to reverse this preliminary decision. But second, and I think...
Interesting. As of today, they have not filed that, because I don't think President Trump wants them to reverse that decision. I think that's the decision. Oh, thank you. Wink, wink. I get it. We don't have to use the National Guard until after we've used the military. Gotcha. Why would I want to reverse that? Why would President Trump want to take the gift that he's been given and throw it out the window? Nope, I got to use the National Guard. No, you guys need to use the other guys first. Okay. The other guys got much more toys. They got really good toys. And you just gave him the license to do what he needs to do.
More worrisome is the Supreme Court is essentially inviting President Trump to send regular armed troops and deploy those to Chicago and Los Angeles before he can send the National Guard. I think a governor would rather have National Guard troops than the 82nd Airborne and the Marine Corps patrolling the streets of Chicago.
Yeah, especially when you think...
Of course, he'd rather have that. Of course, you'd rather have the National Guard than seeing the military running around Main Street. But it's coming. After what I've seen this past week, while everybody was opening gifts and relaxing, while the media was trying to abscond and not even cover it, I see what's coming.
George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Grover Cleveland, George Bush, and others all use the armed forces to keep domestic order and peace. Many of our leaders used the military to keep peace. Now they like to say, oh, you're not allowed to use the military. And you know what the people say? The people in those cities where they're being raped and shot and beat up, you know what they say? We love the military. You ever see where they interview the people on the street? I've never seen somebody say they don't, unless they're radical and paid off, because a lot of these insurrectionists are paid by, whether it's Soros or other people, but they're paid by the radical left.
Paid by the radical left. I don't know, did something happen in the last 3 or 4 days that showed a whole lot of money, a whole lot of your money being paid out to some people who aren't even supposed to be here, who have an average IQ of their entire population of about 70, which we're going to get into, and tell me how the hell that happened.
So today I want to thank every service member from general to private who has bravely helped us secure the nation's capital and make America safe for the American people. It's amazing. The whole world is watching.
What? The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe. And
notice he said, or. If people are getting killed, or we're being held up with judges, or governors and mayors are stopping us. There was a couple ors there. And as I've listened to this and as I was preparing for today's show, I went, or. Where did I see or over and over and over again? So let me show you where I saw it myself. Let's look at the legal definition, not X, not some lawyers, not some interpretations. Let's look at the legal definition of an insurrection. Legal definition. And I use these air quotes because no one's ever really denied or defined what an insurrection is. Do you realize that? What I'm going to show you right now is the entirety of the law, the statute. You know, I'm big into statutes where I can actually show people law. There's a lot of people who've been coming at me on X saying, oh, the January 6 people need to be arrested. And I'm like, under what statute? You being pissed off isn't a statute. You listen to some idiot on X isn't a statute. Define the statute that Pam Bondi has not arrested somebody on. And then you never hear from them again. We're going to get into that too. But I want you to see something. This is the actual definition of a rebellion or an insurrection. This is 18 U.S.C. 2383. This is the law. Whoever, and I want you to listen to these words because whoever came up with it and typed it up, they had an intent to make sure you understood the law. Not the interpretation, not people on X, the actual law. Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion, here's the word again, or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. That's the law. That's it. So as you're reading it on the screen right now, I know it sounds legal easy, but it's pretty simple. If you went up and took a claim to try and hurt the United States, engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto. It doesn't say anything about bombs. Doesn't say anything about guns. Doesn't say anything whatsoever about the violence and trying to overthrow the government. It doesn't say any of that. So now, as we're going through school, let me ask you a couple real simple questions. Even President Trump said peace earlier. Let's go through a couple line items I was thinking of. Could lawfare be considered an insurrection? Well, engages in any rebellion, insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof. Are you doing something against the law, using the law to basically, go against the authority of the United States. Don't know who's going to interpret that, but it doesn't say it can't be invoked. How about the judges? How about the judges? As you're looking at that, how about the judges? Are they against the authority of the United States? In this whole Somalia mess, we just found out that a jury found some idiots guilty unanimously, and the judge threw it out. Never mind Bo Asperger and all that stuff. All right, just let it ruminate in your mind here. How about cheating in elections? Does cheating in an election warrant the Insurrection Act? Is it going against the laws thereof or giving aid or comfort? Sounds kind of insurrection-y to me. It sounds exact. How about stealing governmental funds for ill-gotten gains? How about facilitating a complete invasion of people who aren't supposed to be here? Tens and 20 million people who have come through here. Isn't it against the law for them to be here? Yes, they're not supposed to be in this country. Did somebody somewhere facilitate that? Yes. That means they went against the authority of the United States. It's written right there in front of you. This past weekend, we heard about all kinds of money being stolen. Stealing your tax dollars, my tax dollars, and giving it to other people who possibly were there and getting paid to vote and everything else. Would that be insurrection-y? Yeah. Do you think the Somalis did all this on their own? That's what I was telling people all week. These people don't even have IQs over 68. They can barely tie their shoes. They had nothing but dirt cookies. They showed up in this country, and they want you to believe that, I don't know, these couple people stole some money. And I've asked many people, do me a favor, open a daycare center tomorrow and go get $2 million from some program. Somebody had to help. What happens when somebody helps to facilitate a crime? Well, one, they're accomplice, but two, is a conspiracy. The conspiracy to put together this nucleus of people to steal your money. So now you add conspiracy to the whole thing, because it's not conspiratorial like us putting on tinfoil hats. It's pretty simple. Hey, did you have any experience opening daycares in Somalia? Do you guys even know what a daycare is in Somalia? You have schools. No. What happened with the babies? Oh, they sat by the hut. Hopefully they didn't get chased by a lion. So you didn't have no daycare. But somehow you got here, you learned how to open a daycare center, you somehow rented or bought a building, you didn't have any money. Where'd the money come from? Who gave it to you? How did they give it to you? How did you apply? Let me see your application. Sounding insurrection-y? Sounding like something Trump can say, you guys have been doing so much against the authority of the United States. You've done so much against the authority of the United States, so many of you all over the place, that we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to find out what's going on here, because there's no way you can think one person who just got off a boat, who had some dirty toes from having crappy sandals, orchestrated this entire Somali thing. 2020 election. There is no way one person could have orchestrated the theft of the 2020 election. It had to have been widespread. It had to be state by state. Sound a little insurrection-y to you? Looking to overthrow? No, it doesn't say even overthrow. I'm sorry, my bad. To go against. It doesn't even say overthrow. Against the authority of the United States. So everybody who keeps saying overthrow, that's not the definition. Did you conspire as a group to go against the laws of the United States? Ding, ding. That's an insurrection. How about California with their, I don't know, train to nowhere, where they somehow lost gazillion dollars and never laid an inch of track? People had to conspire to make that happen. They had to take federal dollars. Uh-oh, you took federal money. Oh, there you go. You now have become insurrection-y. How about this one? Every single one of you guys know this. Was some flu-like thing set loose across America? And did this flu-like thing get released so that, they could get mail-in voting and all this kind of stuff, and that they wanted to make sure that, people had to stay in their houses and everything else? Oh, that definitely sounds insurrection-y. Definitely sounds insurrection-y. Now that you're seeing the definition, light bulbs should be going off in your heads and saying, yeah, this stuff is real. This sounds really weird. They've been taking your money and giving it away. That right there. They've been taking your money every single 2 weeks or week or whatever you get paid and giving it to somebody else under false pretenses. That pretty much would be against the laws of the United States. That would be insurrection-y. How about your jobs? Have they been taking your American jobs on purpose and rewarding these people and giving them hotel rooms and food stamps and everything else that you didn't have illegally against the laws of the United States? How about your property? Were you not able to buy a house? Were you not able to get an apartment because they put these people who weren't supposed to be here into a home, oh, by the way, that you funded, whether through Section 8 or an actual mortgage? That sounds insurrection-y to me, too. How about the big one? How about your safety? How about the safety of people you work with, your family, your friends? Do you know anybody who's a woman who's been assaulted, per se? Got to watch my words here. That sounds insurrection-y. You gave comfort to people who weren't supposed to be here, and then they did stuff. Never mind the ones who took people's lives, and they weren't supposed to be here. The fact that they did these bad things, most assuredly, whoever sets on foot, assists, or engages against the authority of the United States, or gives aid or comfort to, somebody's in trouble. I mean, big trouble. And then for those of you who say you need bombs and guns, have we not seen violence as well? Yeah, that's insurrection-y. Definitely insurrection-y. Conspiracy or no conspiracy, the fact of the matter is we have had, by definition, not Barry's, U.S.C. 2383, by definition, we most assuredly have had at most, or at least, at least insurrection-y type behavior. I in reading this myself, I'm like, I got to show people this. In reading it myself, I thought, who is going to challenge this and say, no, Barry, none of what you just said is any evidence of an insurrection? It's right there, people. It's in black and white. When I get back, we're going to talk about the Somali stuff, but I wanted to first lay the groundwork and talk to you guys about what exactly is an insurrection. What qualifies as an insurrection? Because I think in order for people to get their arms around what has happened in America and what is, in my estimation, is going to be coming next, you have to realize and accept that we've already had the insurrection. We're living in it. Now, before I go to break, I just want to say this. Did you know any of this on January 21st of this year? Be honest. No. You didn't know the woman was going to get knifed on a subway. You didn't know that these people were all going to be doing bad things to women. You didn't know they were going to be killing cops. You didn't know that there were Somali daycare centers stealing billions. You didn't know. So when people say Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and everybody else haven't been doing anything, you have now the benefit of rearview mirror. You didn't know any of this. Now you're seeing it and going, wait a second, do something, arrest people. I used to read a lot about the 17th letter. And one of the themes with the 17th letter was this: there is no way I could prove to you what an insurrection was in January. You had to be shown. You had to be shown to the point where you're like, I effing can't take this anymore. Do something. January 21st, it was all, roses. Oh, this is great. We're going to have 4 more years. This is fantastic. We were basically Trump presidency virgins. Oh, this is fantastic. It's the first night. It's a honeymoon. And now a year later, we're like, do something. Because you had to be shown. Some of you follow some of the 17th letter stuff and you knew. But there are many people who did not know it was this bad. And it's going to get worse over the next couple of weeks. Trust me, some of the stuff that's coming out by the hour. But you didn't know. And so part of what President Trump was tasked with and what he had to do was let everybody know, and not just let them know, see for themselves. By seeing for themselves, he doesn't have to prove it. He can sit back and go, oh, y'all seeing this? To the point where everybody has digested so much, the Maryland man and all, no, get rid of it, stop, done, we're done. We are over it. And that's where we are at the end of 2025. I'm over it. I don't want to see anymore. I've had enough. Do something. Now, yes, do something. You sure? You get it? You sure you understand what's going on here, right? You understand what an insurrection is, right? Yes, we do. We understand. Do something, please. Now we can do something. I'll be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So, some more schoolwork for you. Back in January and February, we found out, we didn't know, we found out about Wally the Nigerian. Do you remember us doing shows about Wally the Nigerian? And we were like shocked to find out that Wally the Nigerian was the guy who was in charge of issuing the payments, the checks, the direct deposits. And Wally the Nigerian was told, don't ever ask. Don't even look to verify anything. Just send out the money. And we're all like, what? Nobody was looking to see if the invoices were real. No, in fact, he was instructed, don't even ask. Do you guys remember that? You only remember it if you heard it. If you didn't hear it, you didn't know in January. That was one of the things we found out. Wally the Nigerian was some dude who sat in the office, and his job was to hit the button and send the money out. And don't ask where it's going. Not your job. You got one job. What is it? Click the button. Don't ask any questions. Here's $100,000. Okay. Remember that? You had to be shown that. Let me show you this guy I follow a lot. It says, what do you think, why do you think one of the first things Trump did was use Doge to shut down USAID? Because the Dems plan to use their Soros color revolution model to fund mass riots and chaos. You thought BLM was bad. Imagine if we arrested Obama without cutting off their money supply. Think about that. Think about that. All the stuff that we've seen happen since January, you didn't know. Doge comes out and says, hey, all this money was stolen and there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. You didn't know. I didn't know. We had to be shown. He couldn't go arrest Obama on day one. People would have freaked out. There would have been riots. Because, like, hey, what do you mean Obama needs to go to jail? He hasn't done anything. He didn't do nothing. You didn't know. Next one I want to show you by clandestine. This one's a little bit longer. It says, for all the morons squealing about when the arrests are coming, I've been telling you for years, the arrest of high-profile individuals will cause massive public backlash, and the U.S. military and National Guard must be in position as a standing deterrent. In January of 2025, were there military in the streets anywhere? Nope. If he had rolled out military back then, what would have happened? Oh my God. It had to be shown that we're in the middle of an insurrection. The public must also be informed as to why these high-profile individuals are being arrested before they are arrested. You're seeing the pattern here. I just can't act because people will freak out. Because too many people cannot stomach the fact that their government is so effed up. Nobody wants to believe that the people who we've elected and have been leading us have been bleeding us dry. You know the old saying, the only thing that's true is death and taxes. It was ingrained in us that the only two things we could count on were dying and paying taxes. Why was that? Why were you told there was a second one? You got to die, yeah, and you got to pay taxes. Why did that become ingrained in our heads? Because they wanted your money and they wanted you never to question it. They created a cliche, death and taxes. But you didn't know that there was an option. Nobody ever told you there was an option. We're going to come back to that. It says, we just can't arrest Obama with the public being thoroughly downloaded on the situation because it would cause mass chaos, civilian casualties, and perhaps a breakdown of society. Public perception must be accounted for, and that process has been underway, I would say, for a year. In addition, the National Guard will have and this is where the military comes in, there's 500 plus rapid response units for every state on standby beginning when? Well, that would be in 3 days. How many of you knew that? In 3 days, there are going to be 500 military-staffed response units across the country. Quick response units being deployed on January 1st. Why would that be happening if we weren't looking at going with the whole insurrection? There are many pieces that have to be in place before Trump can drop the final hammer, and the timeline doesn't give a flying F if you are feeling impatient. Those of you squealing are accomplishing nothing other than proving you're a prisoner to your own emotion. Bingo. Trump has the situation controlled, and no amount of bitching is going to speed up the process. An operation of this magnitude must be done with military precision. You complaining about Pam Bondi or anyone else in Trump's cabinet is not going to change anything. I would add to that, you complaining about Pam Bondi or Cash or anybody else, what you are essentially saying, you don't trust Trump. You know, some of you guys have worked in businesses. Maybe you started your own business. But if you worked for somebody and other employees and managers and stuff were screwing off, eventually the CEO, once it bubbled up to them, is going to have to act. They're going to have to get rid of this person if they're not performing. So you've got a president that is all over social media. You know the guy is walking through the White House in Mar-a-Lago at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, what are they saying now? I wonder what they could be saying. And he's looking at everything. You don't think for the last few months he's been seeing people bitch about Pam Bondi? Then come out the next day and go, she's doing a great job. You don't think he saw people bitching about Susie Wiles? Oh, we gotta fire her. The man's in charge. He's definitely in charge. He makes no bones about it. He lets people know. But you think you know better than the guy you supposedly voted for. Let that sink in, because I'm going to show you some stuff that really should make you feel like I'm kind of looking stupid out here. I voted for this guy, and yeah. So with everything happening with the Somalians, and I don't think I have to go into that, because those of you who have a pulse know that billions and billions and billions of dollars seemingly, allegedly, have been stolen from taxpayers to pay fake daycare centers, fake medical centers. And we're at a point, as you noticed during that press conference, the media can't do anything. They can't even talk about it. So now what they've shifted into is to basically deflect. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's not, well, no, it's you white people's fault. That's who it is.
Sure. So these were funds that were meant to go to help feed hungry people during the COVID pandemic, to help keep people in their homes who were at risk of homelessness. So first of all, if there is fraud there, that should be fully investigated, no matter where it is, whether it's in a Democratic-led state, a Republican-led state. I mean, let's pull back. So absolutely, it should be investigated. The question is, why is this a priority in a different kind of way?
Well, I don't know, honey. Hey, billions of dollars being stolen by people who can't write their names. Maybe we should be looking at how these people, first of all, are around kids. Who's going to drop their kid off at one of these people? They don't even take care of their kids in Somalia. And you're trying to tell me that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of Somali daycare centers? Who filled out the applications? How did they know there was even such an application? How did they rent the building? How did they buy the toys? How do they feed them? So many questions, no answers, except it's your white people's fault.
The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether they are reliable narrators is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's
Wait a second. She's asking the question whether or not the people doing the investigations can be trusted. The people who are actually, sorry, Midas, the people who are going to be looking into this, we need to wonder if they can be trusted. The people who didn't steal $19 billion, we have to wonder if they got their mind correct when they go in to do the investigations. This is what they're going to go with? Good luck.
Sad thing to say as an American. Let's recall, too, that there's also other scandals in other states. For example, the Mississippi welfare scandal. I mean, this is not unique to politics. Americans know that. But of course,
There's other stuff that's bad. You guys know that. It's not just Somalians. Why don't you look over here? Go to Mississippi. We are. See, that's the problem. What they didn't realize when they were taping this is people are looking all over the country, here in Florida, maybe where you live. They are all finding out, hey man, this is widespread. This is so widespread. We are talking an insurrection of epic proportions. There was somebody today, let me see if I can find it. It was absolutely scary in terms of what's coming out. This one here. Somebody says, did a quick search of daycares in a random city in Iowa. Guys, something is up. 52 pages all look like this. And it's got all these people's names on it. Al Fatifa Childcare, Al Salim's Childcare. It's everywhere. 52 pages in Idaho. Let that sink in. Lily White, Idaho. 52 pages of Somali-run daycare centers. This is bad. This is really bad.
The other factor here is that because it looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way, those people.
Looks like they may have. I mean, that is a Grand Canyon sized puddle she's trying to jump over. It looks like they may have. They expect people to be as stupid as they are, and they trot this woman out. Wow.
People are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right.
But you see it as a possibility if he wants.
Scapegoated. See, now watch the pivot. Here we go. Now it's the poor Somalis are being scapegoated. They're not thieves. They're being scapegoated. And I have this next clip of her. This is the same woman. And you have to, by the way, she's on the editorial board of the New York Times. And I'm submitting this to you as exhibit 155 that she's a freaking moron.
To spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true.
It's an incredible way of putting it, and it's true. If a man like Bloomberg has $500 million and he gave every single person in America, all 327 million people, he could afford to give $1 million. I'm going to let that just sit there and ruminate until some of you guys start doing the RCA dog thing. Huh? No, that ain't mathing. He could give every person in America like $1.25. And she's on a national news network. She's on NBC saying he could give every single person $1 million and have money left over. And it's true. I couldn't find a better exclamation or example of being gaslit than what you just heard there. Completely gaslit.
It's disturbing. It does suggest, what we're talking about here, which is there's too much money in politics. And it makes it difficult because what we want
there's too much money in politics. Now, let's look at the head Somali himself, Tim Walz. Tim Walz, with everything he's seen over the last couple of days, there's so much stuff. I mean, I'm looking at, things like this. Let me show you this tweet. This tweet from Breaking 911. It was posted by Elon. There are 5,000 5,000 licensed care centers are Somali, where 539 out of 5,000 don't even have an address. 539 daycare centers that are Somali run don't even have an address on file with the state of Minnesota. How do you know where the kids are? How are they getting money? They don't even have a physical address. It just doesn't seem to matter anymore to these people. They're looking in our faces and spitting insurrection seeds at us. You're making a mockery of the United States. But let's go to the head Somali.
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up, because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program. So I think it's asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general. And I think the biggest thing on this is just making sure that we're educating the population. And again, this is...
By the way, he's saying all this and standing in front of what is the new state of Minnesota flag, which happens to be very Somalian looking, and saying it's you white people's fault. That tells you they have nothing whatsoever.
80 people or so that have been convicted in this, maybe some more in that, out of a broader ring. Medicaid fraud will stretch across all racial demographics, all ethnic groups. So I think it's really important for us to note each community's got this in their own midst, but to blame them and say that they should have been responsible for stopping it, I think that's a pretty hard reach. I think we continue to educate folks about why they shouldn't commit crimes. You would hope that it's being taught both at home and at schools and in our society.
You can't backpedal enough what he's doing right now. I know some on stereo that may sound hard to hear, but he's basically saying it's white people's fault. This is where we are in America, where it's okay for them to do what they're doing because white people are making them do it. You can steal all the money you want because white people owe it to you. That's sick. That's absolutely sick.
No, I think this idea that the Somali community is to blame for this because they didn't do more, I think that's how we got into this. And that's, again, I know we're not going to lose the whole plot here. All this work is being done. Donald Trump brought this to the attention like this is something brand new. This is not brand new. And
it's Trump's problem. He brought it up right now. He's showing it to everybody like it's brand new. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. You understand what he just said? I know it might sound hard to hear. Trump is bringing this up like it's brand new. Well, most of America, it is brand new. For most of America, we didn't know that gazillions of dollars was flowing through Somalia. He obviously did. Hey, this isn't new news. We've been stealing money for quite some time. And now Donald Trump wants to make it like it's, it's something new. He actually just said that. It's not new. We know, we watched, we've seen it. We just haven't done anything about it. You people, you white people, just seeing this stuff for the first time, it's Trump's fault.
Been being worked on, but he made it white hot and very dangerous.
Child care centers in Minneapolis, and the independent journalist who published that video, which now has over 100 million views, tells Fox News the scam is extensive.
I've known about the fraud taking place for a long time. Minnesotans have been telling me for a long time about the Somali fraud that is taking place, and that's just the tip. When people say it's the tip of the iceberg, it really is, because there's billions of fraud inside the state of Minnesota right now.
All right, so here's something that's starting to pop up. Is it true? I don't know. And more importantly, I don't care. what they are now saying, and Jessica Tarloff and some other people are saying it, is that Nick Shirley could not have done this on his own. Somebody had to have told him where these things were and pointed him in this direction. Somebody had to give him the information. That's an excuse they are using right now. Not that it was happening, but it's been happening, and now all of a sudden you're making a big deal about it, and because this 23-year-old kid went around with a cell phone and started filming people, and the fact of the matter, this isn't new. Somebody had to have told him, go do videos here. It doesn't matter if it was Nick or Benny or Barry or Fred or Tim Pool. If somebody said, you might want to go do some videos here. Does it matter that somebody pointed him in that direction? Is that the crime, or is it the crime that people have been stealing you dry? Well, people are going to school, going to work every single day so that they can feed the Somalians. Does it matter how he found out that there was a problem there? And I'd love to see your question. Does it matter to you even this much that somebody may have sent Nick an email and said, you know what? I bet you if you go dig around in Somalia area in Minnesota, you might find out some information. Do you care that somebody hit the button and said, Nick, go take a look at this? No. No, we care more that how come we didn't know about it? Well, somebody did. See, that's the other thing. If they think that Nick was basically sick the dogs on him, that somebody said, Nick, go dig this up, then somebody knew. Who knew? Besides the perps, besides the people committing the crimes, who do you think knew that this was happening? Because if you follow that trail of thought that, hey, there's no way that this 23-year-old kid could have exposed all this on his own, okay, then who would have known to say, go look? Remember what I said earlier. I can't tell you. I have to show you. If President Trump wanted to tell you that they're stealing all kinds of money, it's one thing. They're going to fight him in the press. They're going to fight everybody. But if this 23-year-old white kid just shows up and says, look, the Leering Center, and the phones don't work. 100 million views later, we've all seen it. You've been shown it. So whether this was choreographed or not, doesn't matter. There's no way out of this for the Democrats. None. Now that they can surge into Minnesota and Boise and wherever else, these people are absolutely screwed to the hilt. There's no way out. You had to be shown.
And Garrett Tenney is covering this story from our Midwest Bureau. Garrett, good morning to you.
Yeah, Bill, good morning. This is just the latest example of the kind of widespread fraud that whistleblowers say has been taking place in Minnesota for years. And elected officials from towns around the state all the way to Capitol Hill are demanding investigations now into child care centers like this one. Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis. You can see this child care center that is...
He said learning, but it's obviously not learning. It's Quality Leering Center. They were so brazenly stupid, they couldn't even spell this name of the word, the sign correctly. By the way, while I've got it on pause, go ahead and dial that number. See, I dialed it over the weekend. People have been dialing these numbers that they've been seeing on the screen. It ain't looking good for these people in Minnesota. And I can tell you this, once they start digging into these Somalis, what's the worst thing that's probably going to happen to some of the Somalians? They got to go back to dirt. They got to go back to chasing cheetahs. And they're probably thinking, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you who put this together and what you're going to do for me. These people aren't going to be looking to go back to jungles and swing around with cheetahs. So there's going to be a lot of people chirping real soon. Real soon. Count on that.
received millions of dollars in federal tax money over the past 6 years, can't even spell learning right on its sign. And since May 22, this business has been investigated at least 13 times for more than 50 different violations by the Department of Human Services in Minnesota. The business is licensed for 99 kids, but when independent reporter Nick Shirley went by this month, the place appeared completely empty.
There's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. If you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota.
All right, so the people who are against what Nick did, they're saying that's not evidence of fraud. Okay. Evidence of stupidity, evidence of not being able to run a business, not evidence of fraud. Okay, that's fine. That is absolutely true. This is not by itself evidence of fraud. But it's going to be very simple when they're like, how'd you rent the building? Somebody had to sign a lease or somebody bought the building. How did it happen? Where'd the money come from? As soon as that federal dollar is traced to them, that's fraud. And from what Nick did, they had been getting millions of dollars per year. So the alleged part might just be out the window. It is fraud. And it's going to be very, very easy to prove. And like the guy on Fox said, this is the part where even Tim Waltz has been going on for some time. They've already admitted this has been happening for quite some time across the entire state. They're not even trying to hide it, which made it easy for Nick to find because most of these records are public records and you can dial them up and go, okay, Fatima's House of Veils gets, $1 million a year. What the hell is Fatima's House of Veils getting $1 million of your money for? It's going to be very easy. But the fact of the matter, it has been going on for years. So what does that mean? What does that tell you? You had to be shown. Your ire, the level of being pissed off is there right now because you couldn't look away. If a politician or somebody came out and said, well, we're going to take down these 800 Somali daycare centers. Why? Why are you doing that to them? They're just running a business. You wouldn't have, but now you've seen. And that's why I believe the entire thing with that letter is because you had to have been shown. And now there's no doubt. We are all screaming about it. Everywhere you meet, hey, what's going on with these Somalians? Oh, it's not just them. Wait till they start dialing into this and dialing into that and seeing that we've been epically bent over.
Shirley went to multiple child care centers and said he found similar setups where businesses that have received piles of taxpayer dollars were either closed or he couldn't see any children present. In response to that video that's now gone viral, Vice President J.D. Vance posted on X, what's happening in Minnesota is a microcosm of the immigration fraud in our system. Politicians like it because they get power. Welfare cheats like it.
All right, so the Vice President of the United States posts this. So by the time he was okayed, somebody said, yeah, you can post this. Go ahead and put it out there. He is showing you it's this much. What you've seen this for, it's this much. What's happening in Minnesota is a microcosm. It's this much of what we know, but now we've been able to show you of the fraud in our system. Imagine somebody, I don't know, imagine you cheat on your wife and one of her friends sends you a picture and your friend says, that's just one of the pictures. I found a whole Instagram page with your husband and this floozy and there's like hundreds of pictures. But if somebody saw her in a barbershop or beauty center, hey man, your husband's stepping out on you. No, he wouldn't do that to me. He wouldn't do that to me. Look, you see the difference there? You don't want to believe it. It can't possibly be. She would never do that to me. He would never do that to me. They would never do that to me if you have babies. Baby wouldn't do that. I don't believe you. Scroll. And keep scrolling. And keep scrolling. There's no way away from it. And so the Vice President of the United States says, yeah, it's happening. It's this big. It's just what you're seeing is just the tip. That should scare every single one of you. The Vice President of the United States says this is just a microcosm of what's been going on across the United States. And now you'll never forget it. You will never get this image out of your mind of the Quality Leering Center getting millions of dollars. And even Tim Walz saying, yeah, that's been going on, bro. I don't know what the problem is. We've been doing this for years. For years. But nobody knew. Minnesota Tribune, the newspaper out there, hasn't said a frickin' word. Not one frickin' word have they mentioned about this. Nope. NBC, CBS, nope, not a word. Not one word. Tells you they're all in on it. That's why I'm really, really confident that things are about to break in the next week or two. You've been shown the naked pictures of your husband or wife to prove to you you've been getting screwed. And that's just a tip of what you will be seeing.
Because they get rich, but it's a zero-sum game, and they are stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans. Senator Ron Johnson says this is now going to be a primary focus for congressional investigators.
These agency heads who funnel the federal money to the state agencies, they have to demand that the state agencies are transparent. And unfortunately, particularly in Democrat-controlled states, they're not. They're refusing to turn over those records. I've got subpoena power. I will use that subpoena power to obtain these records because we have to get to the bottom of this.
Hey, Ron, screw you and your subpoenas. I would use stronger words, but I'm amongst women here. I would tell you, go F yourself with your subpoenas. And I think every single one of you are saying, we're done with subpoenas. We're done with these dog and pony shows where they get in there and Mazie Hirono is going to ask every witness who they slept with. We're done. We don't want it anymore. We won't take it anymore. So how do we stop with all these subpoenas and congressional hearings? Insurrection. We got to stop it. No more. If I was President Trump and he came in, all right, so we're going to convene hearings next week. Get out. Get the F out. We're not playing that game anymore. This has been going on for years. You all knew it. This isn't a surprise. It's only a surprise that people found out. You've been getting screwed. I've been getting screwed for years. He knows it. Every person in Washington knows it. And it's an open secret. Many of them probably getting their pockets lined. And we don't want any more hearings. I'm tired of hearings. This is the point where I don't think Pam Bondi can do the job that right now President Trump needs. Why? Is she capable? Yes. It's overwhelming. I don't think this is a job one person could do. By the time somebody investigates everything in Minnesota, which could take years, what are you doing about New York and Chicago and California and Florida and Georgia? Every state. You don't have enough manpower. So in other words, you have a bleeding wound and you're in the forest. You need a complete tourniquet and cut off the blood flow and stop it right now. I can get to the hospital. I'll wait to come off this mountain and then we'll take to the hospital and they'll suture it up. Right now, I got to stop the bleeding. And you can't do anything about it. You could have all the hearings you want. I need to stop the bleeding. Who do I need? Who do I need that can stop the effing bleeding? Well, I could probably turn to, I don't know, Pete Hegseth. Why do you think Trump signed the executive order instructing Hegseth to build a, quote, quick reaction force for every state National Guard, trained in crowd control and civil disturbance that can be ready to deploy to U.S. cities by January 1st? Trump is preparing for arrest and the public backlash that will come from the arrest of high-profile individuals. Trump is using the U.S. military to secure the nation before he drops the hammer. The deadline for these troops to be ready for deployment is 3 days. I think we're in that 3-day window. I think right now, while they're in Mar-a-Lago and they're outside of the Beltway and they're down here in the privacy of Mar-a-Lago, Trump he noticed when he was talking about Netanyahu, he said, oh yeah, Pete was there. Oh, okay. I didn't know Pete flew into Mar-a-Lago and was meeting with you. Thanks for letting us know that. He wasn't on camera, but he was there. I think that 3-day window has commenced. It has to commence. We need to have the tourniquet put on right away.
Yeah, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is under fire for all of this happening under his watch, but he says he's now taking steps to investigate this fraud further. He claims it's something they've already been looking into and that they are now setting up guardrails to keep it from happening again. Bill?
See, all the stuff that we're gonna put up guardrails to make sure it doesn't happen again. No, I'm not in the habit of the arsonist putting out fires. If you wanted to put the guardrails on something you knew was happening for years, why didn't you put the guardrails on a couple of years ago? And what do I care at this point if you put guardrails on when you've already stolen, I don't know, billions? Does it make any sense to you? No, not to me either. Wanted to show you a couple other things here. Not that yet. Let me go here.
So these individuals tried to report the fraud that was happening in Ohio and then eventually came to me to say that we're watching providers rubber stamp paperwork for home health. So in Ohio, and there's many states like this, Pennsylvania and other states too, where you can go in and you can say my aging parent needs a home health care and I want to provide it. So the state will, as long as the doctor has approved it, continue to pay you. It could be for 10 hours, 12 hours, up to 24 when it's critical care. So you could sit at home without caring for an elderly parent who really doesn't need it, make about $75,000 to $90,000 a year. Now you add 2 parents, that's $180,000. Now you add your
We moved now from Ohio to Minnesota, where the scam is you can take care of ailing parents and they're not even checking to see if you got ailing parents. Yeah, I got a mom here. She's kind of an invalid. She can't get out of her bed. Yeah, I'm taking care of her 24/7. Need some money. Okay, here's your money. Actually, I got a dad here now too. There's 2 of us. And they're just doling out the money. If you guys hadn't seen this, it's going to piss you off.
It's $250. You continue to add this and you wonder, what are the services being provided? So a lot of providers came and said, fraud is occurring because we said we weren't going to rubber stamp this paperwork, so they went to other providers. Their home health care network saying, we'll make it worth your while. Well, sounds like a kickback to me. So we really need to investigate the Medicaid system and how much it's increased since the Somalian population came and who really needs critical care, because that's meant for our disabled, our elderly, and people who really need it, not to just live off our system. And that's what's happening in Ohio. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's despicable, but authorities are now looking at it from the Attorney General's office to the U.S. Attorney's office. I flagged them all because this is Ohio tax dollars and we have to take it seriously. I'm tired of people telling me, well, this is the way it's always been. It's subject.
I have to show you. I can't tell you. This is the way it's always been. This is Ohio. We've moved from Somalis in Minnesota to now Somalis in Ohio, and this is the way we do it. We steal money. That's what we do. If you won't give it to me, I'll go down the road to somebody else and he'll give me some kickbacks. I might make $100,000, $200,000 a year. And this is the way we've always done it. You wouldn't have known this in January if the arrest started. You would have no clue that this was even going on. Now the curtains are being pulled back and people are like, oh, no. This can't be real.
And we can't really check. No, you can. Audit America, audit Ohio now. And I'm pushing for that in every single state.
I'm laughing because the other alternative is to just turn off the lights and curl up and just start crying. So now you've heard about Minnesota. That was Ohio. This, my friends, is New York. I wrote, Americans are living in an unending episode of Punk'd or Candid Camera, depending on your age. This is going to blow the top off. And Eric Berenson wrote this. Hey, Minnesota, New York would like a word. New York now spends, wait till you see these numbers. New York now spends $120 billion on Medicaid. $6,000 per resident. Remember, it's one of the biggest states and biggest cities in the country. Far more than any state. About half of New York, about half of the people in New York City are on Medicaid. Let that sink in. Half the residents of the biggest city in the country are on Medicaid. You can't even sit back and comprehend how big we've taken it. Half the residents of the biggest city in the country are on Medicaid. And there's basically nothing it won't pay for, including trans surgeries that cost millions of dollars. And I want you to look at this chart, and the chart shows the amount of people who got on Medicaid, and it coincides with some other guy becoming president. They've been stealing us frickin' blind. I don't want any more hearings. I can't take any more hearings. These hearings mean absolutely nothing. These investigations mean nothing because everybody on the panel knows it's been happening. Every time I found a video, people were like, oh, it's been happening for years. Oh, this has been going on for quite some time. Then why didn't you have a hearing a couple years ago? What did you get paid to just look the other way? I can't tell you the answer to that.
In the Social Security database. This is so crazy.
Do you remember this? Dust off the cobwebs. Dust off the cobwebs and remember this from, I don't know, before the election, when Doge was just in its infancy digging things up. Remember, as you listen to this should be a refresher course. But see, like I said, in January, you didn't know. This stuff started coming out. Oh, yeah, Elon, he's with Trump. Oh, this is fantastic. But now the magnitude of the butt reaming we've gotten as a country, you're starting to add the data to this and going, wait a second. I now see how all of this was tied together. But we couldn't do anything because we needed to be shown. And he shows you right here.
And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where how many Social Security numbers were issued. Do you want to?
Yeah, so let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of maybe?
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff they're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, this literally blew us away.
All right, so you're Elon and Antonio, his buddy, who's looking at these data, and you've probably seen this video in this chart, and you probably didn't realize what exactly was I looking at. And you were watching a ballooning of people who weren't supposed to be here, who were given Social Security numbers to allow them to get all the crap they're getting now that you're seeing in the last couple days. You couldn't get this stuff unless you had a Social Security number. You couldn't get the commercial driver's license. You couldn't get all this stuff, but you didn't know what the ramifications were in January. Actually, this was probably October when Elon came out and showed everybody this. But it didn't mean anything. Like, wow, 2 million people, they got Social Security numbers. And at that point, you're like, you had no idea. You had to be shown, and now you've been shown.
Went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. This country's been great to us. My brother and sister are all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed this in this direction. I want to honor them right now. They work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on. Yeah. So I want to stop for a minute. I want to honor those people today. Very good people. Very good people. I have been from D.C. to Social Security offices to the border to track this down, and very good people have helped us along the way. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
This number, what this is when you come in the country, if you're illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border. They do what's called a release your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which to appear at a judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people.
5 million people that they know of, that are never going to see a courtroom, who are never going to get an asylum hearing, never. They're getting CDLs, and they're opening daycare centers and autistic centers and adult daycare centers, and then getting paid millions of your dollars just to be here and vote Democrat. Oh, that and funnel money back to the Democrats, and maybe even some Republicans.
So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we mapped the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep.
No.
They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to...
Okay, stop, Elon. I gotta ask everybody. When I first started this show, I was talking to you about an insurrection. Do you think this might be insurrection-y? Let's bring all these people in. Let's just bring them in. Somehow they had to know what forms to sign up. Oh, that's right. We got NGOs for that we're funding the NGOs as well to go ahead and do what? To bypass American laws and get them their money and let them get jobs and Social Security numbers, which leads to all the other stuff that they got. Sound insurrection-y now? 12 months later? You're damn right it does. And what's Elon saying is this wasn't by mistake. This wasn't because Joe Biden was stupid. This was a mass conspiracy, an operation that was executed on America. 12 months later, now we're all looking back going, oh man, oh boy, now I understand. This is insurrection-y.
Change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid.
I had to go back myself and go, when was this? Oh, this was even before Trump took office, and they already knew then that over 1 million of them were getting Medicaid benefits back then. I showed this video one day. In one of our shows back then, I showed this video. I didn't know until this weekend that this was just part of a massive reveal that was too early. None of us let it sink in. None of us went, where are these people going? What are they doing? How are they getting there? How are they getting? And subsequent, we have all found out that they're getting CDLs, they're getting drivers, they're driving big trucks. Oh, that's right. They just sued to make sure that the newcomers get to keep their CDLs, even though it's not legal to have one. And you got judges going, yeah, they get to keep it. Well, that sounds really insurrection-y to me now. How about you? Remember the definition. I'll show it again at the end here so you can see what the definition of insurrection by law is, not by some idiot's interpretation. You're all old enough to read, and you can probably read this, and there's not a whole lot of leeway. It's only this big. We'll show it again at the end.
Example. We've gone through on every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote in this population, yes.
And who did vote.
And
so this is the point where I'm going to tell you, boys and girls, is that Doge never went away. Elon never went away. It's all they needed. Thanks, Elon. That's all I needed to hear. I didn't need you to dig anymore. I can follow it now. I've got all these fake, well, I don't know if they're fake, but I have all these Social Security numbers from all these people who aren't supposed to be here. Anybody with a laptop can now access those Social Security numbers and find out everything they're doing, what bank accounts, where the monies are coming from, who they voted for. With the right, I don't know, AI, you could dig in, and thanks for all the data, Elon. There's nothing else to dig. I'm sure at one point he went to Trump, and they're sitting probably having, breakfast. You're like, how bad is it? All of it. All of it? All of it. I don't need to be here. Donnie, you got to bust it all up. It's all infected. It's completely toxic. There's no, you heard his words, there's no way out. Why would I keep working on this when I see there's nothing here, man? It's terminal. The United States, as we know it, is terminal unless you nuke this completely. This tumor, this cancer that's growing here is not going to be fixed. You need to come up with some sort of, I don't know, military incision. Do what you need to do, but there's nothing for me to find out. The entire apple is tainted. Well, I could spend 6 months here, but we're going to do the same thing. Can you imagine if they went public with this, what they had in private? And everybody kept wondering what happened to Doge. Nothing happened to Doge. The doctor came in, Elon said, it's terminal. I can't help you if this is the route you're going to take. If you're going to try and fix it, there's nothing I can do. We've done everything we can on this patient. It's over. Think about President Trump at that moment when he talked to Elon and Elon said, we're done. What are you going to do? How are you going to take this tumor out? How are you going to see all of these verticals where they're being stealing money? At that point, he must have said, you got to do what you got to do. Let me know when you're ready. I will help you. We'll figure out what to do. But at this point, there's nothing else to look at. And I'm being very direct by explaining it to you, but they're showing you something that could never be legally fixed in 3, 4, 6, 10 years. There's no way. You can't even find these people, except for the money and stuff they're doing. So the only way you can fix this is to go full tourniquet, amputate. We have no other option. And now you've seen it, which is the theme of what I've been telling you.
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote, and we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already, that is already happening.
So they went ahead and they referred a bunch of these people for prosecution. And that's where people start saying, okay, Bear, I just heard him say they referred these people to prosecution. But then at the same time, you have to realize, excuse me, how bad it is for Pam Bondi and everybody else who has to do all this stuff. And it is such a big problem. Now, before I go into Harmeet, I want to jump to another thing. There have been exhaustively, I mean, absolutely exhaustively, and a lot of people who have been saying this. Realistically speaking, what even could they do if 50 million people just decided enough was enough and stopped paying their taxes? You couldn't possibly imprison them all. What if I told you they already did? What if I'm the one who's going to tell you you're already in a prison? Those of you who are payroll employees, you're done. You see, I don't remember what president, but in 1913, they knew where they were headed with all of this. They decided to make you paying taxes for the most part. You couldn't opt out. We're going to take it out of your check before you even know we've taken it. The number you see is after we've taken our money. And if you don't pay it, well, there's no way you can pay it to not pay it because it's coming out of your check. Your employer, by law, has to take the money out of your check. You can do different things with the W-4 or whatever and say you can claim exempt, but then if they find out you claimed exempt and you're not exempt, then you're going to owe all the money and they're going to garnish your paycheck and they're going to attach your bank account and everything else. You're already in prison. So when I see people post stuff like this, and that's what I said, unfortunately, the overwhelming amount of American taxpayers have no way to opt out. Their evil plan was hatched over 100 years ago by dooming Americans to payroll deductions, ensuring that the plantation would forever thrive. And I use plantation on purpose because that's when we think of slavery, we think of plantations. Well, your job, unfortunately, they had to show you, is your plantation. You can try a couple different things, but God forgive you if it doesn't work. These Somalians are stealing billions. These people in New York are stealing billions. These people all over the country are stealing billions. They're getting fake Social Security numbers. They're getting CDLs. They're doing all kinds of trafficking. They're doing all kinds of things. But they wanted to put Americans in jail if you so much as got $600 by Venmo. You're already in prison. But we need a jailbreak. We need an absolute jailbreak. And so, no, you're not going to get away from taxes for the most part if you are a payroll type employee. They've set it up that way. They plugged you specifically into the matrix and said, go to work every single day, get on that hamster wheel, work 30, 40 years, and get the gold watch. But meanwhile, we're going to take 15, 20, 30, 40, 50% of your money forever. You feel it. And right now, as you're watching all this, you are thinking to yourself, that's exactly what's happened to me. Over the weekend, I've been watching all of this crap. I watch it happen, and I've seen it now, and I can't understand how my country has allowed this to happen. That's because you don't matter, and I don't matter. And we wouldn't matter. We would be insignificant if it weren't for Donald Trump being elected. And he said it a long time ago. I'm just in the way. It's you they want. And I never realized and let that sink in. And I'm like, wait a second, he's absolutely right. They don't care about him. They could kill him, do whatever, put him in jail. It's you they have to keep on that plantation. That's you they have to keep on that hamster wheel. It's not him. He's one man. That one man is in their way, and he has spawned this movement that's now looking at things and going, I'm unplugging.
Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
And you know the rest of the story with the red pill and the blue pill. You were born into this. You had no choice. You didn't know there was an option because there wasn't. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you did your own thing, you could do some things. But for the most part, the average American is born into this ongoing bondage. And these people have stepped in front of you in the line and decided they're going to take your money and they're going to be made priority. And you don't count as much. That is a very hard pill to swallow. But if you had taken, the red pill that people make fun of, you would realize right now, and many of you are sitting back going, we're stuck. You are absolutely stuck if you're a payroll employee. Like I said, you can try to do some things with your W-4, but if they do catch you or whatever, you're screwed. So every day, you wake up, go to work, and you're watching these Somalis laugh in your face. And right about now, you've had it. I don't want any more hearings. I don't want any more subpoenas. I don't want any more of these televised monkey shows. I want it fixed, and I want it fixed now. And I think that's where we had to get to as a country. I think that's exactly what was being set up. Is I can't tell you, you will not, but think about it. Who the hell would believe you? Believe me, if I said to you, guess what? There's these Somalians coming from the dirt over, going to Minnesota, and they're opening up daycare centers and making millions. How is it possible? You wouldn't believe me. Hey, did you know half the city of New York is taking your money? How is that possible? And so now you've got people posting all over X, we need to do like a Tea Party. We need to stop and just not pay taxes. And too late, they took care of that too. So there is no other way but military. There is no other way out of this but bringing the military in, ripping the Band-Aid off, putting a tourniquet on and amputating that gangrene pus-filled leg. Let that sound as vile as it needs to be, because what you've seen over the last 3 or 4 days, even over Christmas, was some of the most vile stuff you could see for an American. They have bent us over sideways, stolen money from us, and laughing. It's white people's fault. Oh, it's been going this way for years. What? you had to see it. Now that you've seen it, this is where I believe, it all comes back. Let me just show you one more time before we close so you guys can see this for yourself, because I want you to read this definition, and here we go. All right. As of January 1, 2024, 18 U.S.C. 2383 U.S. Code, crimes in criminal procedure, rebellion, or insurrection. Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, that's conspiracy, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto to our enemy, i.e. Somalians. Remember, he's been calling these people enemy combatants. See, all this stuff was all thought out. Venezuelans, terrorists, shall be fined, or the laws that were give aid or comfort shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. What does that tell you here at the end? Meaning if the insurrection is declared, some of these people in Congress may have to go. I'll let you see that again. I waited till now just to say that to you. And shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. Notice what's not there. I'll let you look at it for a little bit and tell me what's not there. It doesn't say anything about being found guilty. Whoever does it, just put that, whoever does this shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. It doesn't say whoever's found guilty. It's an insurrection. It's military. You don't get found guilty. You just read it. Now, at this point, you're going to have senators and congresspeople who may have been involved, who have aided the conspiracy, who have set foot against America. Judges. This gives Trump the full Monty. Doesn't need hearings. Doesn't need subpoenas. Go round these people up and put them where they need to be put. And I know right now there are some of you who are terrified of that. Like, really? Can he really do that? That's way too much power for one man to have. Well, it's right there. Now the stuff's starting to make sense. Well, you could come back in a month or so and say, Barry, you're completely crazy. Well, you know what? I'm putting my faith behind a guy who got dragged across this country, got charged with a bunch of bogus charges, got shot at. They want to take out him, his business, impeached. All these things they did was all bogus. Quite insurrection-y. So you can make up your own minds at this point. But one thing I do want to show you is this by, this one's pretty good. I want you to see this. Here's exhibit like 9,000. This is crazy. There's a restaurant in Somalia. There's a restaurant in Minnesota. It's called the Safari Restaurant. Somebody wrote this and said, this is the impossible menu. It has 35 total seats in the restaurant. It says they served 18,000 meals per day. Basically impossible. And the funding source is you. Every single day, they got paid for 18,000 meals, and you paid for every single one of them. Do the math. Do the math on that. Let's say a per cap was 10. They were raking in $180,000 a day. A day. That's a lot of ducats that you're paid for. That's a whole lot of meals there. 35 seats. If those 35 seats were filled 24 hours a day, you don't get to 18,000 meals. 18,000 meals automatically paid. Invoice goes in, $180,000 to $200,000 comes out per day. You had enough? Have you really had enough at this point, being a sucker? Last thing I want to show you, and I hope this goes to all the panicans out there, because I'm done with panicans. Panicans make me sick.
Some of the questions that were circulating about this post-January 6th prosecution, people want accountability for some of the stuff that happened. Obviously, we share those desires. And you just basically said, am I going to have to put down my knitting and explain the statute of limitations to you people? So the floor is yours. What sparked this, and what do you want the country, the conservative movement to know?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for asking. It is certainly very frustrating to those of us at the Department of Justice, where we are doing so much. We are winning so many cases, including at the Supreme Court. We are putting wins on the board. And Attorney General Pam Bondi and the rest of us keep getting criticized for not having arrests, like arrests are entertainment or bread and circuses, when in fact there are arrests, and there is a very lively activity from a very committed and I think the most conservative Department of Justice that we've ever had. So, and I don't think it's just people asking questions. What I was responding to was what looked to me like an organized campaign of stupid commentary that falsely claimed that because January 6th is coming up, there's a 5-year statute of limitations that expires on January 6, 2025. And if the Attorney General and the DOJ hasn't indicted people by that time, then that statute of limitations has run. And I think it is paid. I think I see certainly those types of influencers on X who are monetized repeating this propaganda almost word for word. And I was frustrated by it. I saw some pushback. It wasn't enough pushback. And so I decided to get out there and, spew some facts. Namely, there is no statute of limitations that runs on that day. They're very.
Did you know that? Or were you sucked in by the panicans? She's like, shut up. There is no statute of limitations expiring. Who made this up? Everybody out there bitching about Pam Bondi, you're talking, and in like 5 days, the statute of limitations runs out. Who said?
Statutes that are going to run on a rolling basis, and some haven't even expired because there's a continuing conspiracy, which I think you could make the case for in some circumstances. The statute of limitations doesn't begin to run, i.e. start, until that conspiracy and those overt acts and furtherance of the conspiracy end. And so I put some facts.
All right. So let me explain that. The statute of limitations doesn't even start until the bad guys have stopped being conspiratorial. That's what she said. If they are still conspiring, are they still doing bad stuff? Then if they're still doing bad stuff, there is no end of the statute of limitations until it ends. So what she's giving you is two things there. One, she's telling you they're still doing bad stuff. Number two, they know they're still doing bad stuff. Okay.
Out there. And I also expressed my frustration that so-called conservative influencers are clearly getting paid to spread clickbait disinformation. And it's really annoying to me. And I wish people would get a life, or at least inform themselves and try to be honest instead of just trying to make money off of the desperation of a less informed populace.
And so she was being nice in that video. She wasn't so nice on X. She had posted this. I wrote her meet from the top rope on all the panicans and nothing happening crowd. She goes, my goodness, are you people really going to make me put down my knitting and explain statute of limitations for F's sake? Okay, so here she goes. She gives you the actual definition. Stuff happened on January 6, 2021. This date is irrelevant to prosecution or conspiracy or other wrongdoing weaponization general 5-year statute. January 6th committee in Congress forms in the summer. This is a relevant date. Statute of limitations, mid-2026 potentially. Jack Smith appoints over a year as a special counsel in November. Statute runs on his obvious shenanigans to late 2027. Democrats in Congress and those in the states colluding with Biden White House hide their behavior, some of which, quote, still hasn't come to light. It still isn't over, the conspiracy and the crimes that they have committed. Statute runs on this 5 years after their concealed behavior is known to the government. This means the statute could run even in the next administration. Stop posting clickbait. You are being used. So let me understand. Let me just try and let you know. You go to a bank and the teller turns around and you grab a couple $100. And you're like, wow, if I rob a bank, I don't know, statute of limitations says, they got 5 years to prosecute me. And so in 2030, you're like, looks like I'm clear because they didn't do anything within the 5 years. Not so fast. The bank didn't know. The cameras got messed up. And they brought in somebody when they got ready to sell the bank. And the guy goes, I found this, I redigitized it. Oh, look, Barry's got his hands behind the well and he's stealing. The statute of limitations continues. The clickbait panicking influencers are lying to you. That would be enough for me never to follow them ever again. And then it gets really, really, really fun down here. This one here, she goes, conservative influence. If you think you are, quote, keeping the pressure on or winning by spreading BS attacks on Trump's handpicked cabinet, you are not. You're earning money to spread misinformation. You are hoes. Oh, I got to prop her up for that. Oh. You are hoes. Think about that. You are hoes. And then this. I'm gonna close with this. This is my oh my God kid. It's like, oh my God, yeah. And I went Harmeet out here slaying people, no mercy. She wrote this to this one woman. This one woman said something really stupid. She goes, respectively, Donald Trump has himself tweeted at her, and most of us aren't monetized. Then you are even dumber, useful idiots. At least hoes are getting paid. Have we covered it all right now? Are you there when you realize you've been lied to? And many people, even in the Fanfare family, who have been tweeting at me, I'm like, just, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. She's not doing anything. Seriously? If you ever wonder to yourself what Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, or anybody's doing, you should go to the DOJ website and just go through the press releases and see how many people are getting arrested. And then just save Harmeet Dillon's tweets. And people, it's so funny. People are like, oh, I've lost all respect for you. So I'm watching this administration having no F's to give. They're done. They're done dealing nice with people. Go F yourself. We got something to do here. And at this point, it's all about saving America. That's where we are. I said the same man cussing me out. And yeah, you heard him earlier say, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. Harmeet is 100% love it. Yeah, she's not taking any more crap from these people. And that's the problem. They expect people to take their, excuse my language, take their shit. And people are telling you, I'm not taking it anymore. And I really don't care what you think. The Democrat Party is a criminal thug party. Yeah, I have to agree with you. Let's get those. I don't have any F's to give either. So tired of the garbage. Yes, exactly. All right, everybody. I mean, that's the first day back, stretching the muscles, getting back in the seat here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me go ahead. I don't know what happened at the beginning. I'm gonna have to look that up and figure out why it didn't start when it was supposed to start or anything else. But thanks for jumping back on. Ashley Robin sent me an email. I don't know. Her plane was late. Let me just see here. Robin was like, she just took off. All right, so she just took off. Her flight was supposed to be 8 p.m. and it just took off at 9:15. So she's on her way home. Great time. Hope you guys with your family had a great time as well. Back to work now. Now we got to go. Now we got to get back to work. Get this thing going. All right, everybody. Let me go ahead and do super chats. And then I'll see you tomorrow. I think President Trump will have a lot going on. Let's see here. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you, Colleen. Wait a minute. I missed a couple up here. Can I get up there? All right. So this is from Christina. Hi, Christina. It's not all bad, though. Christmas evening, my best friend dropped to a knee. Oh, my boyfriend. Oh, my goodness. Put out a ring on my finger. And I said, yes. Oh, my gosh. Wow, congratulations. Absolutely congratulations for that. Wow, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. God bless you guys. Jared, once I was homeless, Jesus changed my life. Now I'm doing good and own silver. Thanks for your encouragement to prosper. I got silver at 33 an ounce and it hit 79. So let me just real quick tell you about silver. You guys know what happened with silver. So it's been looking like an EKG over the last 24 to 24 hours. And now it's slowly coming back up again. And nobody knows your basis point. Like Jared just said, he bought at 33. Jared's still good. Jared is really good at this point, and he's still in a good position. So you never know what somebody's basis point is or what their strategy is. So me, yep, still in on it. Still going full bore on everything silver for sure. All right, let me go here. What we got, Jared? And glad you're not homeless. Demon of Cybertron. I rewatched the Godfather movies and videos that analyze the movies, and it will completely help me understand Trump. All the woke right is Fredo. Puzzle billions, one state so far. I bet trillions nationwide. Retro Bill, but Barry, how can the Democrats can't possibly commit conspiracy if they collectively share the same brain? I think that one brain thing is going to hurt them. I'm looking forward to one heck of an upcoming State of the Union address. Oh, it's going to be fire. That would be a good day to round them up. They're all sitting in front of you. Tinley, what I fear is these daycare centers have been used to traffic children alongside laundering money. Probably. Brad says, I need to invest in handcuffs. Tania Barry, it's mind-boggling how so many people still don't trust Trump, yet these same people trusted Biden. You said it. Fazul, defund, arrest, and recoup, take their shoes. Take their shoes, put it back on a plane. Mariah, about the ABD, about the lies keep flowing out. It's insanity to the highest. And guess what? Tampon Tim is responsible for all of it. Oh, you must be white. You must be a white person. Real KRO, isn't it odd that none of the child care centers, signs, doors have a website listed? Nope, no website. Many of them didn't even have windows. Crazy. Brad, not even a courtesy of the reach around. Exactly. Kathleen, this is making me sick. Yeah, it should. Should make you angry as well. I don't want any more hearings. Gray Man, he must be really. I believe Gray Man is Christina's granddad or something, or uncle. Us old combat vets are standing by at the ready to help clean up the mess. I'll even supply my own hardware. If you've seen some of the videos he's made, yeah, he's got the hardware too. Hey, Alice, thank you, Barry. Your show is the truth. Thank you very much. Sorry again, Alice, about the early show. I mean, the early connection. I'm not sure why it didn't work. Luisa gal, I have news. The VA has been charged with fraud on my behalf. Wow. Someone went into my e-benefits and rerouted my bank account number. I will also sue to the fullest extent of the law. Wow. Hope you get what's coming to you. James says, I'm ready for what is coming. Nick, we are living the movie A Bug's Life. We are the ants and the government are the grasshoppers. I've said that since day one. I watched that movie with my children in '98. I took the red pill as a child. What's this? Okay. I thought I saw Kenneth. Where was Kenneth? Kenneth. The Matrix. Ask Grok, does a bank create new money for a loan when it is issued? It's deeper than taxes. Mm-hmm. Barry, will Trump do it when? I don't know when. I don't. None of us knows the date, but it's coming. I believe for sure it's coming. Donna, thank you. Neo, very glad to see you back on, sharing all this important. I have faith in Trump and his admin. I say, bring on the Marines. Indeed. Hey, Tim, it's tiring, but not giving up the fight. Nope. Just look to him. If he's not giving up the fight, why would we? And Charlene Bates, how about doing a year in review? A year in review in one night? How would I even do that? How would I even do a year in review? That would take 10 days or more. It'd be absolutely crazy. All right, everybody. Thank you for bearing through the technical issues earlier in this show. Got settled. We had a good one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell your friends, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.